If you're going to quit anything, quit being lazy, quit making excuses, and quit waiting for the right time. Joe Guerra. DZ Tribe. Josh Thomas. Welcome to another solo. Today's topic, imperfect action is better than perfect nada. Now, there's a reason that this is very important to me, and in fact, it is one of the fundamental cornerstones of what the Do Zone is all about. It's about getting things done. It's about taking action to get those things done. And I'm going to explain a concept to you that's a bit mathematical, although I'm not a super math guy, but I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But the reason that I'm talking about imperfect action is because you're never actually going to be perfect. You're never going to be ready. There's never going to be this moment where the queen comes in and anoints you with her sword and taps you on the shoulder and says, "You are now ready. You can go and be productive and get stuff done." That's never going to happen to you. And you keep waiting for it. And the only thing that is happening as you wait is you are slowly turning into an old man or an old woman who will soon be full of regret. Imperfect action is the key to your success. That last step that you need to take is the most uncomfortable. It is the hardest thing that you will ever do, is that last step. And we keep waiting around, waiting for some confirmation. Is this the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Is this the right decision for me? Oh, I don't know. But the problem is you keep walking up to that line and you keep not stepping across it, and you keep staying exactly where you are. And the people that are on the other side, the people who have created those results, the people who have already taken that action, they're the people that pushed through the discomfort and said, "You know what, screw it. I'm tired of getting the same thing that I've always had," which is nada. The only way I'm going to change that is to take a step. And I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, and I'm going to pick my foot up, and I'm going to move it forward, and I'm going to put my weight on the other foot, and I don't know what's going to happen next. But I need to believe that, number one, I'm going to be all right, and that number two, there's something that I'm going to land on, and I can figure it out. I have to believe that I have the strength and the capability of recovering from any possible situation, no matter how bad. And also, I need to be able to appreciate and accept that good things can happen too. That I am capable. That I am not terrified of success more than I'm terrified of failure. So I want to do a little exercise with you about action. Okay? Now, I'm not a super math guy, and I might butcher these terms, and so if you're a mathematician, you can correct me if you want, but it's kind of missing the point, so don't go all Karen on me, okay? Now, I want you to draw a graph. So if you guys remember from like algebra class, we had our graphing calculators. And so I want you to draw a graph. So just a giant plus sign, basically. And the line that goes straight up and down is called the y-axis. And the line that goes across is called the x-axis. Now, we're not going to worry about the bottom part of this graph. We're just worried about the top, okay? And just want to illustrate a point. Now, for those of you who are super mathy, you're familiar with the concept of a limit equation. And what a limit means is, you can look it up on the internet if you want, but a limit is going to draw a curved line on the upper left quadrant of this graph. It's going to draw a curved line that starts low and then gradually increases as it gets closer to the y-axis. And so I'm trying to describe this as an audio thing, but you can kind of follow along if you want. Get out a piece of paper or Post-it note or something and scratch this out. Okay, you got your graph, and then you've got this limit curve. Now, the reason that I'm talking about the limit curve is because it starts low and then it starts increasing gradually as it gets closer to the y-axis, and then that increase becomes exponential over time. And because it's exponential, we're getting closer and closer and closer to the y-axis, but we never actually cross the axis. I'm going to explain what that means in a minute, but I want you to understand the concept. We've got a limit curve, and it's going closer and closer and closer to the y-axis, and it goes higher and higher and higher, but it's going to go to infinity without ever touching the y-axis. Now, we're going to label the quadrants so that you can understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so if you've pictured this or you've drawn it on a piece of paper, now we're going to give it some labels. That upper left quadrant is called learning. And then that line is your learning curve, and that's going to increase your confidence. Okay, so we've got a learning quadrant, and we've got a learning curve, and it's increasing your confidence. And the y-axis, we're going to label action. So notice we learn and we increase our confidence, and it keeps getting higher and higher. Man, I know so much stuff. But then there's this barrier here that we're never going to cross by learning and being confident. And that barrier is called action. And here's the trippy part. Just to the right side of the action line in that upper right quadrant, that one is called results. So we've got learning, we've got our learning curve, we've got an action line, and on the other side of that action line are all of the results that you could possibly achieve. All of them. None of them are happening in the learning quadrant. You must cross the action threshold in order to achieve results. Now here's an example. Let's think about something complicated that you tried to learn. If you are in a trade, if you are a medical professional, or if you're a service technician or something like that. The first couple of things that you started learning about that industry were like mind-boggling, they're mind-blowing. Let's say you're a real estate investor and you've bought a house or something. That first book you picked up or that first podcast you listened to was like, oh my God, where has this been all my life? And then the second one was like, yeah, this is definitely where I need to be. And then the third one was like, okay, I feel like, there might be some review material here, but I picked up a couple of nuggets. And then by the fifth or sixth different piece of content that you're digesting, you're kind of like, okay, I think I understand it. But maybe I should keep reading so that I can really understand it, and I can just get really, really ready, and I can get super confident. I can make sure that I'm ready when I'm going to take that step and the blah, 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 blah. But you know what you're not doing is you're not crossing that action line. You're not taking action. And because you're not taking action, you're not getting results. I'll give you a simpler analogy. Riding a bike. How many books do you need to read about riding a bike? The theory of gravity, bike riding, balance, or something. How many YouTube videos do you need to watch? How many podcasts do you need to listen to about how to ride a bike? Probably none. How many of those are going to help you ride a bike? And I mean, how many people of you that can ride a bike, and I have to specify because I've actually met quite a few people who cannot ride a bike, even as adults. How many of you, think about it, who can ride a bike, learned how to ride a bike by researching it and listening to other people and checking in with other guys that have ridden bikes and like, hey, were you able to ride a bike? Is it even actually possible? Let me check on that for you. Maybe I should just check the Better Business Bureau and see if bike riding is really a thing. It might be a scam. Probably not. Probably what you did is this. Some point in your childhood, your mom or your dad or someone close to you, as you were ready to take off your training wheels, they grabbed on to the back of your seat as you were rolling down a gentle slope, and they ran with you as far as they could, and they tried to help you stay up and get that balance, and then eventually they let go. And one of two things happened. You fell and scraped your knees, or you kept sailing and you had it figured out. But regardless of the outcome, if you fell and scraped your knees, you're probably going to get right back up and try again and again and again until you don't need that help. That's action. And if you were able to just kind of sail off the first time, that's action. And those actions created results. Those results allowed you to be able to ride that bike. And over time, you improved and you got better, started hanging out with your friends. Maybe you got a nicer bike. Maybe you went longer distances, that sort of thing. But the only reason that was possible, it wasn't about how much you learned. It wasn't about how much confidence you had. It was about the fact that you took some action. Imperfect action. That's where the scraped knees come in. So it's much, much, much better to take imperfect action than to settle for perfect nada. That's going to do it for this episode of the Do Zone Solos. If you've got a topic you want me to discuss on a future solo, I would really love to hear from you. You can find me on Facebook, or you can look me up on Instagram at JoshThomas80. Until next time, go get something done.